by the wrath of the floods, while 6,000 villages have been inundated. And it has been learned that a total of 262,000 people are currently taking shelter in as many as 862 relief camps that have been set up across the state. And meanwhile, NDRF and SDRF personnel are carrying out relentless rescue operations in the worst affected districts. Yes, indeed, viewers, a big development and a big update as far as the flood scenario in Assam is concerned. As many as 32 districts of the state continue to reel under floodwaters, with the death toll now mounting to 50 persons. And besides, more than 55 lakh people have been affected by the wrath of the floods, and while 6,000 villages have remained inundated. It has been learned that a total of 262,000 people are currently taking shelter in 862 relief camps that have been set up across the state. Meanwhile, NDRF and SDRF personnel are carrying out relentless rescue operations. And meanwhile, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma will be touring the flood-affected areas in Kanpur and Roha districts today. As per reports, Chief Minister Sharma will be visiting several relief camps in Kanpur. It may be mentioned here that Kanpur has been reeling under floodwaters for several days now, with prime roads and houses still remaining inundated. Communication too has been snapped, and more than 100 villages still remain severely affected. And there is also an apparent shortage of food and other essential commodities. And Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma will also be visiting relief camps and interacting with the flood-affected people. So indeed, this is a big development coming in from the flood scenario, as Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma is all set to tour the flood-affected areas in Kanpur and Roha districts of the state. As per reports, the Assam Chief Minister Sharma will be visiting several relief camps in Kanpur. It may be mentioned here that Kanpur has been reeling under floodwaters for several days now, with vital roads and houses remaining inundated. Communication too has been snapped, and more than 100 villages have been severely affected. And this has also turned into an apparent shortage of food and other essential commodities as well. And Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma will be visiting some of these relief camps where a lot of these flood-affected people have been put up, and interact with these people. And meanwhile, the flood situation in Silchar also continues to deteriorate at an alarming pace. The surge in the water levels of the Barak River has inundated the Silchar-Karimganj road, while several areas of Silchar town have also been waterlogged. And worth mentioning here, viewers, a team of 105 NDRF personnel are currently carrying out relief and rescue operations.
हम लोग भी ट्विटर में देख रहे हैं यहाँ के मुख्यमंत्री जी हमारी टीम के लिए रिक्वेशन दिए थे और हमारी टीम समय से पहुंची है और संज्ञान भी ले रहे हैं मुख्यमंत्री जी। तो हम उन्हें विश्वास दिलाना चाहेंगे कि हम लोग जो एनडीआरएफ टीम है पूरी तरह से उनके विश्वास में खरे उतरेंगे और जो भी काम दिया जाएगा उसे पूरी मेहनत ईमानदारी से पूरा करके सरकार का सहयोग करेंगे हम लोग।
All right, on to another big story now, viewers. The BJP-led NDA on Tuesday announced Draupadi Murmu as their candidate for the upcoming presidential elections. And with the announcement of Murmu's name as the NDA candidate for the presidential polls, she is likely to file her nominations on the 25th of June. And earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had affirmed that Murmu has a rich administrative experience and that she would fulfill her responsibilities properly. It may be mentioned here that Draupadi Murmu is a former governor of Jharkhand and a former Odisha minister as well. And if elected, she will be the first tribal president of the country and the country's second female president after Pratibha Dev Singh Patil. And coming from a poor tribal family in a village of Mayurbhanj, a backward district in Odisha, Draupadi Murmu completed her studies despite facing challenging circumstances. She taught at the Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Center in Rairangpur. Notably, former Finance and External Affairs Minister of India Yashwant Sinha has been named as the common candidate of the opposition parties for the presidential elections. All right, coming back to the Maharashtrian political crisis, which has now shifted the scene of action to Assam. We have some breaking news coming in, viewers. Breaking news coming in from Guwahati. Rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde is currently holding a meeting with his supporters at Hotel Radisson Blue right here in Guwahati. For more updates, we are now being joined once again over the phone line by our editor-in-chief, Wasbir Hussain. Wasbir, indeed a big development, big breaking news coming in. A meeting has gotten underway between the Shiv Sena rebel MLAs, led, of course, by Eknath Shinde. What more details can you give us at this point in time, Wasbir?
Ronak, the first breaking story is that senior BJP leaders are arriving in Guwahati from New Delhi. That is what we are hearing, including one BJP leader from Mumbai. They are arriving in Guwahati shortly. That is what we are hearing. And secondly, yes, rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde at this point in time is holding a meeting with his supporters. As we have reported, there are 33 Shiv Sena MLAs and 7 independent MLAs, a total of 40 MLAs at the Radisson Blue Hotel in Guwahati. I would also like to point out here that Assam Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma had visited Radisson Blue early this morning around 5:30. That's what sources are telling us. Assam Chief Minister and top BJP strategist Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma had visited Radisson Blue Hotel around 5:30 this morning, but returned after overseeing the arrangements even before the MLAs had landed in Guwahati and reached the Radisson Blue Hotel. So Himanta Biswa Sharma was at the hotel early this morning around 5:30 to oversee the arrangements personally, because Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma is someone who does not leave anything to chance. So he was there to personally oversee the arrangements for the stay accommodation of this 40 rebel MLAs at the hotel. And then he was there for about half an hour to 45 minutes before he left the hotel. Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma has not physically met, not personally met any of the BJP leaders, any of the Shiv Sena MLAs who have reached Guwahati. So that is the breaking story. Eknath Shinde holding a meeting with his supporters at Radisson Blue. Senior BJP leaders from New Delhi and Mumbai are arriving in Guwahati, and Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma visiting the hotel earlier in this morning, even before they had landed, to oversee the arrangements. And of course, I can tell you that 2 of his senior ministers are at the hotel at this point in time, and closely liaising with the Shiv Sena rebel Shiv Sena MLAs, and of course, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma himself keeping a very, very close watch on the situation, closely monitoring the development.
Absolutely, and was just going by this fact that Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma himself had visited the Radisson Blue Hotel earlier in the morning today, goes to show the intent, the extent of interest, and the keenness with which the BJP is following all of these developments, isn't it?
Absolutely. You are right. The BJP is going for the final kill in Maharashtra. It is now clear that the BJP wants Uddhav Thackeray out. That is absolutely clear. And the BJP is now is close to forming the government along with the rebel Shiv Sena MLAs in Maharashtra. The BJP already has 146 plus. That is BJP and the allies in the Maharashtra Assembly. And now that Shinde already has 40 MLAs, and we are getting to hear that 5 to 6 more MLAs are going to shift allegiance, go away from Uddhav Thackeray camp to the Eknath Shinde camp. I think then the number of rebels within the Awadi government will be around 40 within the Shiv Sena, and it will be around 45. So in that case, it will be smooth sailing for Eknath Shinde to form the government with the support of the BJP and its allies. And now, of course, everything depends on what Uddhav Thackeray's next move, because he's holding a cabinet meeting at 1 o'clock in Mumbai. And after that, they're going to come up with their decision as to what could be their next move. But at the moment, Awadi government in Maharashtra clearly in a serious crisis, and it may be difficult for them to emerge from this crisis.
Absolutely, and it was just the very fact that Uddhav Thackeray himself has offered to step down from the post of chief minister goes to show how badly, how desperately they want to keep the entire pack together, isn't it?
Well, that is a last-ditch attempt by Uddhav Thackeray to save his government. There are reports to sources claiming that Uddhav Thackeray had himself offered to step down and give the leadership position to Eknath Shinde. But whether whether that is going to click is not known. It's unlikely because what we are hearing is that Eknath Shinde has been slighted on several occasions by Uddhav Thackeray's son Aditya Thackeray. So that is what the rebel MLAs are saying, that their leader Eknath Shinde was not given the due respect. He did not have freedom in running his ministry and so on. So these are claims. We have not heard the other side of the story directly. So these are claims made by the Shiv Sena rebel MLAs, then indicating that Eknath Shinde is unlikely to take Uddhav Thackeray's offer, even if he has received that offer.
Absolutely, Wasvirs, and thank you very much for joining us once again and bringing us all of those latest updates. All right, on to another big story now. A massive protest erupted in Manipur capital Imphal on Tuesday over the ongoing fencing work along the Myanmar border. Members and supporters of the United Committee Manipur or UCM took to the streets gathering in front of the Kangla Gate in Imphal. And soon a scuffle broke out between the protesters and police after demonstrators were stopped from proceeding any further. Eventually, police took control of the situation. And it may be mentioned here that the UCM is alleging that Manipur will cede a large portion of land to Myanmar under the current arrangement for fencing off the international border. The protesters also chanted slogans demanding both the center and the state government to stop the ongoing fencing work, and they said that it is being done at the cost of Manipur's own land. The UCM also demanded Union Minister of State for External Affairs Dr. R.K. Ranjan as well as Chief Minister N. Biren Singh's intervention into the matter. UCM President George Chandra Konthojam alleged that the center is giving away Manipur land to Myanmar, expressing concern that a large portion of the state will be ceded to Myanmar by the time the Border Road Task Force completes the ongoing fencing work. He demanded prompt and proper action from the Manipur government side.
Today, United Committee Manipur USM and its minded organizations of the Manipur people, we protest today against the disputed area fencings, whether security fencing or border fencings along the Indo-Myanmar border area from pillar number 79 to 102 area, which was visited by the team of the United Committee Manipur. We, United Committee Manipur and the Manipur peoples, appeal to the Manipur government and please give us and please inform to us the clarifications of the disputed area of the our Manipur boundary along the Indo-Myanmar border. And then we, the United Committee Manipur or the people of the Manipur want to know the declarations of the disputed area.
And on to another big story from the region, viewers. The Nagaland Gaubura Federation has taken a big decision pertaining to the Naga political issue. In a crucial meeting with different apex bodies representing the Nagas, all the stakeholders resolved to constitute an action committee under the nomenclature of Nagaland People's Action Committee to carry out the voice of the people till a desired result is arrived at. Well, the Nagaland People's Action Committee will be headed by Teja Theri as the convener, while Shikotu Zalipu will be the co-convener. And besides the GB Federation and the tribal apex bodies, the CSOs, the Gaumburas, and various other organizations unanimously resolved to press upon the Government of India as well as the NSC and IM and also the NNPGs to conclude the negotiations on the basis of agreed points finalized on the 31st of December 2019. And besides, the stakeholders of today's meeting held in Dimapur also resolved to carry out demonstrations in a democratic manner in the days to come if things do not proceed in the desired manner.
The sole purpose of the meeting was to decide collectively what we can practically contribute for the cause of a long-standing Naga political issue and also to reassess what is left of our future politics. After thorough deliberation, unanimously passed the following resolution. 1. The House unanimously resolved to press upon the Government of India and the two Naga negotiating groups to conclude the ongoing negotiation on the basis of the understanding that has reached in between the Government of India and the Naga negotiators on the 31st October 2019. Resolved to constitute an action committee under the nomenclature of Nagaland People's Action Committee (NPAC) to carry out the voice of the people till we get the desired result. The House also resolved to ask the apex tribal hosts to officially delegate one representative each to be a member of the committee. The following members shall lead the committee: Convener Mr. Teza Tere, Co-Convener Mr. Shikto Zalipu. 3. Co-Convener Mr. Kekung Chim Yimchimur. Another co-convener Mr. Timsumumba Ao. Secretary Mr. Kando Mule. Finance Secretary Mr. Dr. Seville Moore. Representative from Naga Council, Dimapur. Resolution number 3. The House further resolved to stage a public relay and other follow-up actions. The Nagas of Nagaland shall stand as one entity, and we shall collectively react to any discriminative action meted out to any individual or community.
All right, on to another big national focus now. In a fresh development concerning the Sheena Bora murder case, the Bombay High Court has granted bail to Sanjeev Khanna, the former husband of Indrani Mukherjee. The bail was granted by a single judge bench of Justice Bharati Dangre on a cash bond of rupees 1 lakh. The CBI has arrested Khanna in 2015 for conspiring with Indrani Mukherjee. And there was in fact sufficient evidence to prove Khanna's involvement in the murder of 24-year-old Sheena Bora. Worth mentioning here, the Supreme Court had granted bail to Indrani Mukherjee earlier on the 19th of May. All right, coming back to Assam now, the sacred Ambubachi Mela begins today. As per inputs, the main doors of the Kamakhya temple will be closed at 8:18 p.m. And just like every year, several ascetics are already camping in the temple premises. It may be mentioned here that the Assam government will be observing the Mela in a low-key manner. The 3-day Mela will be held only through religious customs, and devotees have been advised not to visit the Kamakhya shrine during the Mela, as there will be no special car passes or provisions provided this time around. Furthermore, only 3 camps have been set up for the devotees this year. All right, on to another big story now. The BJP-led NDA alliance on Tuesday announced Draupadi Murmu as their candidate for the forthcoming presidential elections. And with the announcement of Murmu's name as the NDA candidate for the polls, she's likely to file her nomination on the 25th of this month. And earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had affirmed that Murmu has a rich administrative experience and that she would be able to fulfill her responsibilities properly. It may be mentioned here that Draupadi Murmu is a former Jharkhand governor and also a former Odisha minister. If elected, she will be the first tribal president of India and the country's second female president after Pratibha Patil. And coming from a poor tribal family in a village of Mayurbanj, a backward district in Odisha, Draupadi Murmu completed her studies despite facing challenging circumstances. She taught at the Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Center, Rairangpur, And notably, former Finance and External Affairs Minister of India, Yashwant Sinha, has been named as the common candidate of the opposition parties for the presidential elections, which are slated to take place on the 18th of July.
हमारे अपने एनडीए के घटक के लोगों के साथ बातचीत करते हुए और लगभग 20 नामों पर हमारे यहाँ लंबे दौर की चर्चा हुई और चर्चा में सब लोगों के साथ बातचीत करते हुए एक सर्वसम्मति इस बात पर बनी कि सभी नामों पर चर्चा हुई, विस्तृत चर्चा हुई, लेकिन कुल मिलाकर के ये बात सामने आई कि हमें प्रत्याशी के रूप में कोई पूर्व से ढूंढना चाहिए, भारत के पूर्वी क्षेत्र से ढूंढना चाहिए और हो सके और हमारा प्रयास हो महिला को हमको स्थान देना चाहिए। और आज तक कोई आदिवासी ट्राइबल प्रत्याशी राष्ट्रपति के रूप में नहीं आया है, इसलिए हमें ट्राइबल पर और पहली बार कोई ट्राइबल को भारतीय एनडीए की तरफ से हम कैंडिडेट बना सकेंगे ऐसा संसदीय बोर्ड, पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड का मत था और इसलिए श्रीमती द्रौपदी मुर्मू इनको राष्ट्रपति का प्रत्याशी घोषित किया गया है एनडीए की तरफ से।
And meanwhile, chief ministers of northeastern states have welcomed the decision to feed Draupadi Murmu as their presidential candidate. Take a look. Yes, there you have it. Taking to Twitter, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma has congratulated Draupadi Murmu, former governor of Jharkhand, on being nominated as the presidential candidate of the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance. And the Sikkim Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamang has also expressed his gratitude to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for nominating an indigenous tribal woman candidate for the presidential elections. Chief Minister Tamang, further welcoming the decision, said that he will extend his unconditional support to the presidential candidate. We also have Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu, who has congratulated Murmu on being nominated as the presidential candidate of the NDA. Chief Minister Khandu further wrote that Arunachal Pradesh is a tribal state and nomination of first tribal as presidential candidate shows the Prime Minister's commitment towards tribals as well as towards women. We also have a tweet by the Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma, who thanked Prime Minister Modi for nominating an indigenous tribal woman candidate, Draupadi Murmu, as the presidential candidate. Chief Minister Sangma further stated that it was a long cherished dream of his father, the late P.A. Sangma, to have a tribal president for the country. And with that, we've come to the end of our news bulletin. Stay tuned to Northeast Live for more news and updates. Thank you for watching.
Northeast Live, the most viewed news channel in the region. On YouTube, unmatched coverage.
সুগন্ধ ৰং আৰু সোৱাদ খাতি
এভৰিডে জিভাত দিয়ে আসল জুতি
এভৰিডে স্পাইচেছ 100% টেষ্ট এভৰিডে স্পাইচেছ বেষ্ট
Long shot, but I got the reach. Pop lock, now I'm off the leash. Mic drop, I ain't gotta preach. I just do what comes natural. Sterling Reserve.